King Elias Rourke stood before the massive communication array as dawn broke over the colonial capital. The device that had once represented hope for continued connection with Earth now served as his platform for what might be humanity's first interstellar diplomatic ultimatum. "Begin transmission," he ordered technical specialist Douglas, who monitored the equipment with unusual solemnity. "Full broadcast. Earth Command and all colonial settlements simultaneously." The array hummed to life, its massive dish tracking Earth's position with mechanical precision. Red lights indicated active transmission as Rourke stepped before the camera, his bearing every inch the monarch his people had chosen him to be. "This is His Majesty, King Elias Rourke I, sovereign ruler of the independent colonial territories, addressing Earth Command and all relevant authorities." He paused, allowing the formal weight of his title to settle before continuing in measured diplomatic tones. "We have received notification of Earth's intention to dispatch what you term a peacekeeping mission to our world. While we appreciate Earth's continued interest in our development, we must respectfully clarify our position regarding such intervention. The independent, we neither request nor require Earth's peacekeeping services. Our society is stable, our government legitimate, and our people content. Any military force arriving in our system without invitation will be regarded as what it factually represents, an invasion force. We harbor no hostility toward Earth or its people. However, we will not accept the imposition of external authority over a population that has clearly expressed its preference for self-governance. The democratic process that established our government was transparent, fair, and conclusive. Should Earth choose to proceed with this mission despite our position, we will respond as any sovereign nation must when faced with uninvited military intervention. We hope Earth's leadership will consider whether the enforcement of bureaucratic preferences justifies the potential consequences of such action. We remain open to diplomatic dialogue based on mutual respect between equal sovereign entities. However, any attempt to dictate terms to our people or undermine our chosen government will be met with appropriate resistance. So we understand each other perfectly. We seek peace, but we will defend our independence by any means necessary." Rourke's tone remained diplomatic throughout, but the steel beneath his words was unmistakable. This wasn't a declaration of war. It was something more dangerous. It was a promise. Earth Command may respond through standard diplomatic channels. All other communications should be directed to the Ministry of Colonial Affairs. Long live the independent colonial territories. The transmission ended, leaving the communications center in tense silence. Douglas began monitoring for Earth's response, while Rourke prepared for the more challenging task ahead, convincing his people they could actually defend themselves against the most powerful military force in human history. 2 hours later, the main plaza of Vanguard Colony overflowed with citizens from all 4 settlements. Hastily erected screens displayed Rourke's image to the crowds that couldn't fit in the central square. The mood was electric, part celebration, part anxiety, all attention focused on their king. "My people," Rourke began, his voice carrying clearly through the amplification system, "you heard my message to Earth. Now I must be direct with you about what comes next." He gestured to the defensive walls surrounding the original colony, barriers that had seemed impressive against local threats, but would prove inadequate against interstellar military technology. "In 6 months, Earth will arrive with ships, weapons, and soldiers designed to overwhelm any resistance we might offer through conventional means. They possess technology we cannot match, numbers we cannot equal, and resources we cannot compete with directly." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, but Rourke's raised hand restored quiet. "However, we possess advantages they cannot replicate. Knowledge of our terrain, unity of purpose, and, most importantly, the desperate creativity of free people defending their homes. We will not meet Earth's invasion with traditional military tactics. We will meet it with innovation." The crowd's energy shifted, anticipation replacing anxiety. "Beginning immediately, I am announcing a colony-wide mobilization unlike anything in human history. Every citizen, every skill, every creative mind will contribute to our defense. This is not a call to arms, it is a call to genius. Rourke activated a holographic display visible throughout the plaza, showing technical specifications and challenge parameters. First, automated defense systems. We need AI-controlled towers, orbital satellites, defensive positions that can operate without human crews. Earth expects to face colonial militia. They will face a planet that fights back on its own. Excited chatter erupted as engineers and technicians began discussing possibilities. Second, autonomous construction and combat robots. We lack the manpower to build an army, but we can build an army of machines. Robots that construct other robots, that establish defensive positions, that multiply our effective force beyond anything Earth anticipates. Third, new ships and weapon systems. We salvaged incredible technology from our colonial vessels and learned much from studying Solace's creations. Now, we weaponize that knowledge. The crowd was fully engaged now, with specialists already forming discussion groups around potential projects. I am establishing innovation competitions with prizes beyond anything previously offered. Land grants, resource rights, noble titles for those whose contributions prove decisive. Every citizen becomes an inventor, every invention a potential war winner. Rourke's expression grew more serious as he addressed the broader implications. But innovation requires resources, metals, materials, energy sources we haven't yet exploited. Which brings me to our expansion policy. He gestured toward the wilderness beyond the settlements. Earth demanded we relocate our people to serve their expansion quotas. Instead, we expand to serve our own survival. I hereby institute the ancient forest law. Any citizen who plants and tends a boundary tree may claim the surrounding land as their own, with full hereditary rights. The crowd stirred with new interest. As Rourke explained the program, I will provide seeds for this purpose: olive trees, oak, spruce, larch, species chosen for longevity. Your claim will outlive you, passing to your children and their children. Build something worth defending, and it becomes yours to defend. Furthermore, any mining discoveries made on claimed land belong to the claimant and their heirs in perpetuity. Find iron, rare metals, energy sources. They become your family's legacy, not Earth's resource extraction quota. The implications were immediately clear to the crowd. This wasn't just about defense. It was about creating a true colonial economy, independent of Earth's control. We have 6 months to transform from refugees into defenders, from colonists into citizens of a true sovereign nation. Earth expects to find the same dependent settlements they left behind centuries ago. Instead, they will find a world that belongs entirely to its people. Rourke's voice rose to carry across the entire assembly. You chose me as your king not because you wanted a ruler, but because you wanted a champion. Today, I ask you to become champions yourselves. 6 months to save our freedom. 6 months to prove that human ingenuity, unleashed and desperate, can overcome any tyranny. The crowd erupted in cheers that continued long after Rourke departed the platform. Within hours, innovation teams were forming across all settlements. Technical specifications were being shared, resources allocated, projects initiated. By evening, the first boundary tree seeds had been distributed. Citizens streamed out of the settlements with surveying equipment, camping gear, and determination to claim land that would truly belong to them and their descendants. In his office, Rourke reviewed the day's initial reports with satisfaction. 17 major innovation projects already underway. Resource surveys launched for 3 promising mining regions. Nearly 2,000 families had claimed boundary tree seeds and begun identifying settlement sites. It's working, Major Elliott observed, consulting updates from across the territories. People are responding like you gave them permission to become everything Earth never let them be. Because that's exactly what I did, Rourke replied. Earth wanted compliant colonists. We're about to show them what free citizens can accomplish. Dr. Karras entered with a preliminary technical assessment. The AI defense project is further along than expected. We're adapting Solus's computational architecture, familiar with the planet's systems, but loyal to us instead of some abstract environmental ideal. And the automation systems? 3 teams working on different approaches. Competition is already driving innovation faster than any centralized program could. Rourke nodded, satisfied. What about Earth's response to our diplomatic message? Radio silence so far, Lieutenant Walsh reported, but long-range sensors are tracking increased military activity in Earth's orbital facilities. They're not backing down. Neither are we, Rourke replied firmly. They chose this path when they decided 6 months was adequate travel time after making us spend centuries in space. As night fell over the rapidly expanding colonial territories, Rourke stood at his window watching lights spring up across the landscape. New settlements, mining operations, construction sites where humanity's future was being forged in defiance of its past. Earth would arrive expecting submission. Instead, they would find a world ready for war, defended by innovations they couldn't imagine and citizens who had finally found something worth fighting for. The 6-month countdown had begun. Rourke was jolted awake at 3:47 hours by urgent knocking on his quarters door. Years of military training had him upright and alert before his feet hit the floor. "Enter," he called, pulling on his uniform jacket. Dr. Karras burst through the door, her usually composed demeanor replaced by barely contained excitement. "Elias, we found it. We found everything." "Found what?" Rourke asked, immediately alert despite the early hour. "Solus's archives. Not just data fragments, complete resource surveys, geological analyses, mineral maps of the entire continent, and more importantly," she paused for dramatic effect, "we found its construction fleet." Rourke was fully awake now. The terraforming robots? 1,700 units, still functional after all these years. They've been in automated hibernation since Solus finished her terraforming, waiting for reactivation codes we just recovered from the archives. Karras activated her portable display, showing technical specifications that made Rourke's pulse quicken. "They're old, yes, but their construction capabilities are beyond anything we currently possess. They can mine, refine, manufacture, and build simultaneously." "Show me," Rourke demanded. They made their way to the technical center, where teams had been working around the clock since Solus's archives were first accessed. The main display showed a 3-dimensional map of the continent with resource deposits marked in glowing indicators. "Solus spent years surveying this world," Chief Engineer Walters explained as he arrived. "Iron, rare earth metals, energy-dense mineral compounds we don't even have names for, all mapped, all cataloged, all waiting." "The construction robots can be reprogrammed?" Rourke asked. "Already working on it," Karras confirmed. "We're adapting their base protocols to serve colonial needs instead of environmental management. Think of them as the foundation for our automated defense network. They can build everything we need, then build the systems to defend what they've built." Rourke studied the resource maps, his strategic mind immediately grasping the implications. "This changes our timeline considerably." "It changes everything," Walters agreed. "With automated construction and surveyed resources, we're not looking at 6 months of desperate preparation. We're looking at 6 months of systematic military buildup." Their planning session was interrupted by Lieutenant Walsh's voice over the communication system. "Your Majesty, urgent transmission from the Hartwell expedition." "They're requesting immediate priority communication." Rourke frowned. The Hartwell family, 4 brothers, a sister, and their father, had departed just yesterday with boundary tree seeds and very rudimentary prospecting equipment, among the first to take advantage of the new land claims policy. "Put them through," Rourke ordered. The main display switched to show 6 grimy, exhausted, but triumphant faces gathered around a portable communication unit. Behind them, the scarred landscape of Solus's crater stretched into darkness. "Your Majesty," called Mike Hartwell, the eldest brother and expedition leader, "we have news that's going to change everything." "Go ahead, Mike." "We're broadcasting from the impact crater where the fleet destroyed Solus," Mike continued, his excitement obvious despite his fatigue. Dad figured since everyone's always complained about the overburden being the hardest part of mining, maybe we should look where someone else already did the digging for us. Thomas Hartwell, the family patriarch, leaned into view. 40 years in mining operations, Your Majesty. I've never seen anything like what we found down here. What did you find? Rourke asked, though the family's enthusiasm suggested the answer would be significant. Everything, called Arya Hartwell, the sister, gesturing towards something off-screen. Iron ore, copper, what looks like titanium deposits, rare earth concentrations that'll make your head spin. The orbital bombardment that killed Solace didn't just dig a hole. It exposed mineral veins that would have taken decades to reach through conventional mining. How much are we talking about? Chief Engineer Walters interjected. Enough to build a navy, replied David Hartwell, the second brother. Dad's preliminary survey suggests this single crater contains more readily accessible rare metals than all 4 colonies have extracted since landing. And it's ours, added Paul Hartwell, the third brother. We planted our boundary trees this morning, 17 different species around the crater perimeter. Whatever we pull out of this hole belongs to the Hartwell family for generations, just like you promised. Thomas Hartwell spoke again, his voice carrying the authority of experience. Your Majesty, I've worked mining operations on 3 different worlds. What you've offered here, permanent family ownership of discoveries, it's going to drive innovation and exploration like nothing I've ever seen. People aren't just mining for wages anymore. They're mining for their children's futures. Rourke exchanged glances with his assembled staff, seeing his own thoughts reflected in their expressions. Between Solace's construction robots and the Hartwell discovery, their defensive preparations had just accelerated beyond anything he had dared hope. Mike, I want full geological surveys of that crater. Thomas, I'm assigning additional mining equipment to your expedition, whatever you need to maximize extraction. This discovery could be the key to our independence. Already working on it, Your Majesty, Arya Hartwell replied. We're setting up a permanent operation. Mom's going to kill us for staying out here, but this is too important to leave. As the communication ended, the technical center buzzed with renewed energy. Karis was already updating construction plans to incorporate both the Solace robots and the Hartwell mineral discoveries. Sir, she said, looking up from her calculations, with Solace's construction fleet and immediate access to these mineral resources, we're not just talking about defense anymore. We're talking about industrial capacity that could rival Earth's colonial production within months. Months, Rourke repeated thoughtfully. Not years, not decades, months. The Hartwell discovery proves your land claims policy was strategically brilliant, Major Elliott observed. Give people permanent ownership of what they find, and they'll find things you never imagined. Rourke moved to the window as dawn broke over the colonial territories. In the distance, he could see the first construction robots emerging from their long hibernation. Ancient machines that would soon serve humanity's newest kingdom. Beyond that, smoke rose from the Hartwell crater, where a family's mining operation was about to fuel a war effort. 6 months, he said quietly. Earth thinks they're giving us barely enough time to panic. Instead, they've given us just enough time to become something they never expected us to become. What's that? Karis asked. Dangerous, Rourke replied, and for the first time since Dr. McLeod's warning, he smiled. Earth would arrive expecting submission. Instead, they would find a world ready for war, defended by innovations they couldn't imagine, and citizens who had finally found something worth fighting for. The 6-month countdown had begun, but now it felt less like a death sentence and more like a deadline for victory. Many thanks to my channel members and Pathfinders. You all make these videos possible. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to the story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.